Morning, I cut off. I was getting at off at 600, whatever it is, by this woman. And so in my house, my husband Joe and I have the spiritual pause button, which we put on for times such as those. And so I hit my horn and, ooh. Then I went back to my happy place. I'm like, oh, this divine expression of God, bless you, on your phone while you weren't paying attention. Almost killed me on the road. So, I think when I was in third grade, I was in Catholic school, and I don't know what feast it was, the Annunciation, the Assumption, something about Mary. And my teacher at the time was this nun. Her name was Sister Camilla. And Sister Camilla told us, if you say 1,000 Hail Marys today, 1,000, your wish will come true. Now, I was a very spiritual, religious kid. And I don't know why, for some reason, I had this very special relationship with Mary. I had a shrine to Mary in my room. I would put little crowns on her, decorate the bottom with flowers. Not surprising today, but anyway, all day long, all through class, out on the playground, I was saying these Hail Marys. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. I with Jesus. Hail Mary, full of grace, Lord is with thee. And I was keeping count. Came home from school, still saying the Hail Marys. Dinner, told Mom and Dad I couldn't eat because I was saying the Hail Marys. Eating while saying the Hail Marys. And I said the Hail Marys and said the Hail Marys, and I'm certain I completed the 1,000 Hail Marys, although I think I fell asleep. I think I might have done extra just to make sure I got them in case I lost count. So why I remember this is not, sadly, because the wish came true. See, the wish didn't come true, and so I decided to take it up with Sister Camilla the next day. And I went in and I said, Sister Camilla, I spent all night and all day saying these 1,000 Hail Marys, and you told me my wish would come true, and it didn't. And you want to know what she told me? It's because you're not worthy. I know. Isn't that horrible? Oh. There's more stories about Sister Camilla, but I'll tell you about that if we workshop next time I come. But it taught me a lesson. Not that I was unworthy, although it certainly planted that seed. And see, I'm grateful that that seed was planted. Because as I got older and went through a period of spiritual discontent, I started seeking. Because that wasn't the God I wanted. That wasn't the God that I wanted to understand. That wasn't the God I had a relationship with. That wasn't the God that brought me comfort, that brought me joy, that brought me love. It wasn't the God that I wanted to live with on a daily basis. So I went through a dark night of the soul, my time in the desert, searching. Ended up, because I had a flat tire on my bike, at this strange place up the street, which at that time was called Religious Science Fort Lauderdale. Met my spiritual community. Had a message that was delivered exactly for me, like that song. Prayed my way through it and found my now husband, who I spent hours and hours and hours the first night talking about God and spirituality. And I discovered that he believed the same thing I did. But he went to this strange place in Miami Beach called Unity on the Bay. And I thought, boy, that sounds an awful lot like what I go to in Fort Lauderdale, just a different name. So we went back and forth every week because we both loved our churches, and then they became our churches, and that became our life and our message. And I had someone to share the joy of this magnificent God that was loving and infinite, and all of these things that I had been taught weren't true. Now, I lost my iPad. Oh. So I want to just an aside for a second. A lot of what I do since I left active pulpit ministry in my church in the Hamptons is I marry people. And I am fortunate to come and speak to wonderful churches like you to keep myself active. But in marrying all of these people, I meet all kinds of young people. The 20-somethings who are in this place where they were raised in a certain religious tradition and they're not really there anymore, and they come to me and they want me to write a ceremony that has elements of God. And I ask them things like, well, are we involving Jesus, or are we keeping Jesus out of it? And they're like, you know what, let's keep Jesus out of it. Let's make it spiritual, but not religious. And so I do, and they're so happy. Now, as part of that process, they do this thing called premarital discovery with me, which is not like a typical Catholic New Cana class. We actually laugh. We have a good time. I invite them to bring wine, which they do. No guilt, no shame, no confrontation. One of the exercises, they have to order these things in their lives, and the importance to them, not as individuals, but as a couple. Now, they don't know it, but these things and this entire process revolves around health, wealth, love, and freedom of self-expression or creativity, which, when I teach chaplains, these are the areas of life that affect us all. When someone's coming to us for prayer, health, wealth, love, freedom of self-expression falls into those categories. Now, what's interesting is they have 10 things at the end of this questionnaire that they have to rate in order of importance from 1 to 12. Over 90%, I'm not picking, if there's any 20-somethings here, I'm sorry, I'm just saying, this is statistical. 90% of them put spontaneity and creativity as number 12. Number 12! Spontaneity and creativity as number 12. Now, I noticed you had the word dynamic up here before. That's the most non-dynamic viewpoint I think that we could possibly take when it comes to life. When we do prayer, when we do God, when we do unity, when we do these things, when we know these things, we don't know them in the ways that I said 1,000 Hail Marys, which is Hail Mary, full of grace, with thee, Jesus. When I teach church prayer chaplains, and I teach them prayer, and I hear, there's one power, one presence, that presence is God. That presence is my presence, that life is my life right now. I know and believe, and I'm like, okay, we're not going anywhere with that. I mean, we can. We can. Because here's the thing. I don't believe that God is out to trick us. I don't believe, even though we very specifically teach prayer in our traditions and how we should pray, I don't believe that God is out to fool us. Now, I hear a lot in my churches, in my spiritual education, as I spent my childhood, my spiritual childhood in churches of religious science, and then I went on to study more deeply in unity, and then I ended up in divine science as a minister. All the same. But what I hear, not all the same, but I mean the same. What I hear over and over again is things like this. It's Sunday. Hey, Judy, how are you? I'm good. Oh, sorry. I'm good. I have a terrible cold, though. Judy, what are you holding in your consciousness that is bringing on that cold? No. Spiritual malpractice. No. No, 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 no. Because, see, you are now attaching yourself to a God that's out to trick us. Like God went, oh, you know what, Judy? You did not word that prayer properly. You said in your prayer, please, God, cure my illness. And see, right there, you recognized and you owned the power of that illness. And so I'm going to keep you with that cold until you wake up. That's the way it is. But see, it's a mystery for us, too, because how many people here pray? Anybody pray? Good. Who didn't raise their hand? You. You're the smart one. You get other people to pray for you, right? I like it. Okay, so we're taught prayer, and here's the reality. How many of you that pray have their prayers answered 100% of the time? Man. So what are we doing wrong? If I said that God's not out to trick us, right? And I said that prayer and what we hold in consciousness works, what is the problem? Why aren't all unity churches, all centers for spiritual living, why aren't they packed to the gills? Why don't we have standing room only in the back? Why? Why don't we? One of the biggest mysteries. One of the biggest mysteries. But here is what I'm getting to. So, in the Bible, there's a story about Adam and Eve and the apple. And God said, don't eat that apple. Okay, tricky God. Don't eat that apple, because if you eat that apple, I am kicking you out of the garden. I mean, that's it. You're out. And, Eve. Poor Eve. See, I think Eve, I give Eve credit because she had a mind of her own. She's like, whatever. Adam, here's the apple. Let's eat the apple. Looks like a great apple. I think it's a trick because I don't believe in a God that is out to trick me. So I think it's a test for us to just have blind faith in God. And so let's eat the apple. And Adam's like, well, okay, that sounds good. And they ate the apple. And lo and behold, they got kicked out of the garden. They got sent east of Eden. And you know the rest of the story. So God tricked them, which is mean. And then God sent Moses with the 10 Commandments. And one of those commandments was, don't have any false idols before me. And these poor people, I mean, they had for the longest time worshiped the sun and the moon and the stars. They had created spirit animals and shamans and all these beautiful, beautiful things. Seeing divinity innate in everything around them. And now God came along and said, no. That calf, destroy it. All those things, destroy them. Because this is the way it is. And if you don't do it, you're just not going to find me. So they did. Now, Jesus, our way shower and great teacher, came, taught us something new, said dispense with all this nonsense, and believe and know that you and God are one, and that the Christ in you is the hope of glory, that Judy Christ can do these things, and Bob Christ and Scott Christ and everybody Christ can go ahead and pray and know and do and be. So we had two camps then. We had the Gnostics over here, and we had the other early Christians over here. And who knows? Anybody know anything about the Gnostics? Anybody? Gnostics? Yeah, what do you know? I call on people, I'll tell you right now. You have to stay awake if I'm talking, because I might call on you. Yes. They were. Yes. Okay. So two camps. We had the Gnostics over here, which I hate to tell you, but you'd have been the Gnostics. We're Gnostics. We believe in the mystical Jesus. We believe in the mystical teachings of Christ. We believe in the metaphysical meaning, metaphysical interpretation. It's not all literal. This is what we believe. And then over here we had what then became associated with Irenaeus and Constantine and got nailed down into canon. And that's when they threw out all the other books that they didn't like the Gospel of Thomas. They threw them out. And the poor Gnostics got persecuted and run off. Now, Gnosticism was part of the mystic Christ, the mystic belief in Christ. They were mystics. So with the apple, with the 10 Commandments, and then with the Gnostics, we killed the mystery. And as time goes on and humanity continues to evolve, there are the people that are comfortable and happy not engaging or contributing to the death of the mystery. Mystery, mystic. We have killed the mystery. And see, the mystery is where the magic happens. Now, they killed the mystery as they formed the church, and things grew from there because they wanted to do something that's called selling water by the river. I'm going to put up a big fence, and I'm going to open up my water store, and you have to come to me to get the water from the river, even though it's free. I'm going to sell the water to you at a price, but come on in. We're going to sing some songs, and then you can go get your water, you can go home. See, that resource is free and open and available to you, and I don't know where it comes from. I guess the rain falls. I don't know what's upriver that lets it flow down with this clean, wonderful, nourishing water that's there for me. I don't know what it is, but apparently the only way I can access it is through you, the guy who is selling water by the river. Because here's the problem. If I don't have a fence, if I don't have a barrier to you accessing that thing, and whether that barrier is, let's say, guilt, shame, the idea of unworthiness, separation. See, hell, to be held in, actually means to be fenced in, separated. If I just give you access, you don't need me. And see, that's not a good business model for a church. So why aren't Unity churches, Centers for Spiritual Living, bursting at the seams? Because we don't use fences. We don't sell water by the river. We do not charge admission for your access to the glory and the beauty and the love and the infinite magnificence of what God is and who you are. We don't guilt you into coming here on Sundays. You come here because you love to be surrounded by people that know what you know. And on days when we don't know it so much, like when I get run off the road, I can look at all of you and see your light and be reminded of what it is that I know. So, why aren't our prayers always answered? If we know all this and we're connected to all this? Because, sadly, we think. We love to think. I think, therefore I am. If I wasn't thinking, I'd be worried, because I'm probably dead. And it's not that we outthink ourselves, it's that all of these other things creep into our belief system and are part of what it is that we know and believe and understand and have incorporated into what it is that we think. And also, like those young millennials, maybe our spontaneity and our creativity is number 12 on our list. So there's this woman whose anniversary was coming up, and she told her husband, I had this dream. And in my dream, on our 25th anniversary, I got this beautiful necklace from K Jewelers down at the mall down the street. Heart-shaped. Lady on television advertises it. Can't miss it. Just tell them the heart-shaped necklace pendant. I mean, in my dream. The husband's like, oh, great, that's nice. So a week later, she tells him again, she says, I had this dream again about the heart-shaped diamond pendant. I was in K Jewelers down the street, and I opened this package later, and inside was that necklace. So now it's the day before the anniversary, and she said, oh, I had that dream again last night about the necklace. The next day, she gets up and she says to her husband, happy anniversary. And he says, happy anniversary. And she sees the look on his face. He jumps in the car, drives, goes zooming down the street. She's like, ooh, headed toward K Jewelers, woohoo. So he comes home that night with a package, big bow. And she's like, oh, this is great, shaped like a, sort of like a necklace box, I guess. And she tears open the wrapping, and inside is a book that says, How to Interpret Your Dreams. What went wrong with her prayer? Oh my gosh. What went wrong? She prayed for a necklace and got the book. I mean, you see what I'm saying? Yeah. But see, we have to defer and embrace the mystery again. We have to be okay because we're big knowers. I mean that in a good way. We're big knowers in our teaching because we know how prayer works. We know about divine substance. We know that thoughts in mind produce that for their kind. We know all these things. We know. But we have to release and defer to the mystery. We have to allow the magnitude and the power and the glory of God to come through for us in our lives in ways that we don't know. I just downloaded a book this morning called, something like Astrophysics for People on the Go. I thought this is perfect. So, I guess I'm here to give you the divine mystery for people on the go. And here's what you need to know. Nothing. You don't need to know anything. All you need to know is who your God is. That's all you need to know. And you need to know, you need to know two things. Who your God is and who you are in relation to that God. God is infinite, magnificent, our source, our supply. We draw from this power and presence with creativity, spontaneity. We say our prayers with emotion. It's the rocket fuel of what it is that we're pushing forward. And we say it not having to know how it is that it's going to come to be. In my meditation, I said, people, places, things, and ideas that support and sustain our spiritual understanding appear to us with grace, ease, and joy in ways that we can understand. And that last part's important because God's not out to trick us. Now, the double-edged sword. I don't have to know what the mystery is, but when it does appear in my life, God's not going to try to trick me and make me guess and say, is that a message? I got a stoplight at every corner on the way to church this morning. And that Reverend Scott was speaking. That must mean something. Or I got a green light, which I hope is the case. But at any rate, we know who our God is. We know who we are within that divine field, that power of spirit. We own our Christhood, and we own the mystery. We own the mystery. This is our path. Our path is to know and believe and understand and allow. Our path is to create. The Bible says, consider the lilies of the field. What do lilies do? Who knows? The Bible says they toil not. Those lilies aren't toiling. When I'm outside and I watch those fireflies at night and I watch the flowers grow in my garden, they are not worried. They're just not. They're not worried like, oh, tomorrow I have a lot of growing to do, and oh my gosh, I better photosynthesize tonight. Worry, worry, worry. We can't be Chicken Littles. We use visceral prayer, feeling prayer. We know through our sense experience. We use creativity. We breed, we bring about, we bring on, we catalyze, we cause, we create, we do, we draw on, we affect, we effectuate, we engender, we generate, induce, invoke, make, occasion, produce, prompt, result, spawn, translate, work, and yield into divine expression. All of these different ways you have, all of these different means of expression that suits you as an individual as a beautiful and unique divine expression of God. Because that's all part of the mystery. So use it and believe it and be it and own it, because it's so incredible. Thank you.